You are looking live at a daily chart of the Nasdaq. Today is Tuesday, July 30th. Tomorrow will be the last day of July, and all eyes are on Jerome Powell and what he has to say. If he's dovish, I believe you're going to see home builders, financials, small caps, and mid cap stocks ripping higher. And if he's hawkish, you're going to see the opposite. So place your bets. There's really no advantage, to buying a bunch of stock ahead of what he's going to say because nobody knows. I just want to point out here that the Nasdaq made this high on July 11th of 18,671, and then it had this gap down lower, and the next day it really needed to get back into that gap, and it didn't. It headed lower, sliced the 21, had this on Monday, it had this oversold bounce, rejected at its moving average, now sliced the 50. The 50 is acting as resistance there as it's bumped its head a couple of times off the 50, and today made a lower low. So what was it, 17,033, and this is 17,015. The peak to trough on this correction is 9%. And if you listen to Peter Lynch, he'll say you have a 10% correction every 1 or 2 years. This is a part of the game. It's expected. But what we're hearing from in these earnings calls is a little alarming, I think. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. About the slowdown of the consumer. But anyway, enough with the Nasdaq. It's just in correction mode. This happens from time to time, as you can see. Last July, August, September, and into October, we had this three waves down, and we've had that correction there in March to April, and now we're having another one here of 9% peak to trough. So just gonna have to hang in there. You're gonna have to be patient. This is where most of the growth stocks that I like to buy trade in the Nasdaq. So either you make the adjustment into the rotation, or you get out, or you just sit there and ride these stocks lower. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. I do not recommend that, but some people have the tolerance for that type of pain. This is the MDY, the S&P mid cap 400. And, obviously it's doing a lot better than the NASDAQ. I should have showed you that the NASDAQ is 2.4% below its 50 there. And this one is 1.2% above its 10 and 3.7% above that 50 simple moving average. I will go back to the NASDAQ since I mentioned it. You can see where it closed today, off the lows, but still, 2.4% below that 50. So it's got some work to do. It's going to take, time. I'm talking probably weeks, not days, but just take it one day at a time. Tomorrow's another day. And I've got to get to the IWM because this is another index that to me looks really good. Just marking time here as it, made this big move and got way ahead of its moving averages here. 9.9% above the 50, 8.5, and now it's starting to get a little more in line. Still 7.3% above its 50, and 1.2% above the 10. So maybe to find support of the 10. You can see it just had an inside day today, but this is strong index, and I believe if Chairman Powell talks about, subsequent, interest rates lower, I believe the small caps will lead and do well, and the rate sensitive stocks, the financials and the home builders, and there are others, but anyway, I'm going to move on. I've got to get to the Mag 7, which is kind of a drag on the indexes. Apple is the strongest of these magnificent 7 names. It's still below its 21. They're going to report on Thursday, so you're just going to have to wait and see what they have to say. Tesla is another one that is strong as well. It's below its 21, 3.1% below the 21. Didn't have real good earnings, but didn't sell off too badly. They couldn't push it down any lower, and it started trading higher. Now rejected at its moving average yesterday. Today down 4%, so not looking too good for that one either. They reported last week, and then Meta reports tomorrow, the 31st. This one's below its 15. You can see after hours, it's down a little bit. I'm going to get to that in a minute. Amazon, they're going to report on Thursday with Apple, below the 50. I don't like it. These things do not look good to me. NVIDIA, there's just a rotation out of them. They had a big run and people were sitting in these things and the trade got a little overcrowded and, they take profits and adios. This one's up after hours and I'm going to explain why here in a little bit. But NVIDIA made a low today. You could see how it's been making these lower lows. And I thought that, after the sell-off, it made a low here, and it made a low here, and it made a low here, and now today it makes a low here. So how low will she go? I don't know. Maybe today was a low. You never know. Anyway, there's a lot of reasons why these AI semiconductor software names are getting punished because they're just not delivering. There's high expectations and they're not delivering these expectations. AMKR, they reported last night. AMKR was down a cool 19% today. Thank you very much. That's a nice haircut below the 200. My goodness, that's too much pain for me to take. Yeah, it's almost 4% below its 200. So no, thank you. Lattice, just not. They're not delivering good reports, and they're being punished for it, and they should be. It's all about earnings, and if you can't deliver earnings expectations, you're going to get a haircut. This one, 9% haircut today, below the 20, just in a complete downtrend. All of the moving averages are trending lower on Lattice. And then Rambus, they reported their habitual serial, they miss and they guide lower. I mean, if you like a stock like that, yeah, go ahead. This is not for me. The group is strong, 13, but man, you could see it just broke. All this consolidation broke below it today. So Rambus looks terrible, 37% off of its 52-week high. And, these chip names are just, not looking good. This is Applied Materials. They're going to report on the 15th, below the 50, just making lower lows every, other day. Looks like it's got a date with the 200. And then ASML, they reported a stinker quarter a week or two ago, and they got punished for it as well. And this day it sliced its 50 down, almost 13%, and it's got momentum to the downside. Now it's hit its 200 and then retested it, so maybe it'll find support there and bounce. But yeah, I mean, you look at these red numbers down here. You have red numbers, you're going to have a big pink volume bars onto the downside. So the chip stocks are radioactive for now. You got to avoid them. Okay, enough of the negative stuff. I got to get to some of the positive stuff. PNTG, this is the if you can call this medical long-term care positive. Pennant Group, I mean, it's in an uptrend. Okay, so I'm just going to show some stocks in uptrends here. And this is the #1 group. This is actually in a double bottom base. I can't touch this though. It's so thinly traded. 450 million market cap on SNDA. So, I mean, but these stocks are working. So I'm showing them. This one has a lot more liquid. 1.5 billion market cap. It broke out of a cup with handle base, and now it's just trending along with its 10 EMA. So Brookdale Senior Living looks pretty good. It's alive and well. PACS, medical long-term care stock, recent IPO, had this little consolidation, broke out. Now it's riding, Kelly Slater, it's 10 EMA. And when they start doing that, in the higher lows and higher highs and the moving averages are trending higher, you don't have to hold them very long to make some money, but you should be, taking some profits along the way, because this is not going to last. This is very uncharacteristic for this group. This is Ensign Group. You can see this cup-shaped pattern, the breakout, and it's doing the Kelly Slater thing too, just surfing the 10 EMA. So that group is doing well. I've got to talk a little bit about the defensive names. AMAT reported this morning. I put it on as a buy point. It was trading in the pre-market, pretty respectively with not a lot of volume. at a 85.52, but man, this thing really took off. And you could see when you see that RS line, trading through the moving averages, that's a buy sign. But I can't chase something up 13%. It was pretty tame in pre-market, man. It opened way higher. That first bar there, what is it, about 93? Yeah, 94. I mean, yeah, you can't chase stuff like that. But if it comes, pulls back in, in the next week or so, it might be worth watching and picking up as it pulls back. So Helmet, you can see it's got this serial gapper here, 15% on May 2. So congrats to the longs there. But there's a lot of these, I have GE in my ready list, and it's just kind of playing possum here, just going back and forth, back and forth. They had a real stellar earnings. It was up nearly 6% on the 23rd, which was last week. And I still think this is a stock to watch. It's just faking like it wants to break out, then pull back. Fakes like it wants to break out, then pulls back. Closing range on 3% today. So it's closed near the lows of the session for GE. FTAI reported last week, had a nice move. Now pull back to its MA. So that one's starting to look pretty good. I'd be interested in that one around, that 10 EMA. Yeah, 107.81, call it 108. Maybe it'll pull back a buck or so tomorrow. Anyway, CW, I believe I have this one on our ready list this morning, Curtis Wright. They don't report until next week. So it got a little bump from the Helmet news today, but you can see it's still in this consolidation pattern, trading tight within a base, showing the ability to really move. I mean, it went from 190 to 286. So maybe it has ideas of doing something like that again. We'll just have to wait and see. HEI, this one has been on a heater. And I mean, just talk about a Kelly Slater stock. Just every time it pulls back to the 21, find support, slice the 21, comes down to the 50, find support at the 50 for the first time since the breakout. And that's what you want to see, the bounce after the dip. So Heiko Corp looks good. So the defense names look fantastic. RTX is showing strength. This is Raytheon. They changed their name to RTX. I don't know why. But anyway, gapped higher on the 25th. And then Friday, it's had an inside day. Monday, we come back from the weekend, and it's showing strength in a week tape here. I want to see what the weekly shows. Yeah, up 2.5% this week, while most everything else is floundering around. All right, so that's it for the defensive names, the managed care names, and I got to go to some of the banks. I have JP Morgan on my ready list, I believe. Yeah, it's getting a little extended here. It looks a little bit like Lennar, where it's just pushed so far away from a base, you can't chase it. Maybe if it pulls back to a moving average, and heck, I want to see it trade above that 217.56, and I think it will. And after Powell speaks tomorrow, these things are going to be gyrating around, especially if he's talking about lowering rates. I think the market will like that. And this is Goldman Sachs. I'd like to see it above the 509.48, and I think it gets there sometime pretty soon. Morgan Stanley, this is more of traditional base. Ripped higher, broke out, made a high of 109.11 on July 16th, pulled back to the 21. Now looking for support, still near that buy point of 103.25. Had an inside day today. I like the banks. I like the big banks. I like the small banks in this environment. Normally I don't say that stuff. HBAN is blasphemy. HBAN, broke out. It was trading tight within the base, below the 50, rallied through it. And now it's just marking time, allowing the moving averages to catch up. WAFD is another one of these regional banks, 2.9 billion market cap. And I think I had this on our watch list last week. I don't know if I have it this week. It's starting to push away from its base, kind of like, the home builders, Lennar. This one I had on a ready list. It's starting to push away. It's getting a little extended now. I'm gonna have to take it off. 180. I can't chase it way up there, but you can see it broke out hard from the straight up from the bottom, traded sideways, waited for the 10, probably the 8 there. I don't think it quite got to the 10. But yeah, probably the 8 there. But making new highs. So Lennar looks fantastic. Pulte Homes, another one that I like in this group. I mean, you can't chase it here. It's extended. It broke out. It moved higher. It's adios muchachos. Don't be chasing that stuff. You know, if you're interested in owning a home builder, wait for a pullback, but don't chase them up there because then you're going to get underwater and you're going to get frustrated when they pull back. KB Homes, same thing, you know, just extended, big move. Like I said, I think, you know, these stocks are anticipating lower rates going forward. I don't know when, but it's sometime in the near future. And then the insurance stocks, they look strong as well. I have this one on my ready list. Skyward Specialty, pull back to its 21, found support, now moving higher. Like to see it trade above that old 40.38. That would be nice. Today it hit 40.17. Definitely one to watch. AJG, this is Gallagher. Another new high today for Gallagher. Bro, another insurance stock, made another new high today, just showing strength. Yeah, surfing the moving averages. You got to love this. Ryan, another one of these insurance stocks. These things are strong. I can't believe the group, the insurance broker, is only 63, but whatever. They're really strong. I mean, they're making new highs. I mean, I don't know. You can't ask for more than that. So anyway, Willis Towers, Watson. You can see this one. This is a big base here. Cup with handle, 269 buy point. It's at 284. So getting a little extended there. What else do I have here on the, oh, here's one that I don't show very often. ERIE. And this one just broke out of a double bottom base. Like I should have had it on the weekend, but I missed it. It was up with volume on last Friday, but you know, you can't kiss all the babies. All right, moving on to the drug stocks. We had some news today from Pfizer. This one's near a buy point. This is a slow moving stock. And what it did is it just pulled back to its 10. Let's check this on the 5-minute chart because it was kind of gyrating around. Some of these earnings moves, there you go. So it opened up higher and then sold off immediately. So some profit taking in there. And then buyers came in and then drove the stock higher. And it closed 2-something% higher, 2.18% higher. I still, you know, 29.73, it's close enough to a buy point, but you don't want to chase it. Like I said, this is a slow mover. Merck, they reported they're not so fortunate. One of their drugs, gosh, I forget which one, kind of failed. So yeah, not selling as expected. So Novo Nordisk had news on Alzheimer's for one of their drugs, and you think, gosh, news like that, and it should be up 5 or 6%, but this thing is in limbo. They're trying to buy Catalent, and Dr. No is holding them up. They're going to have to grease some palms and kiss some rings to get that approved. They're going to report earnings next week. I don't really even know if we're in earnings matter right now. They need that those manufacturing plants approved, and it's just trading sideways. So pretty tough look for Novo, but you know, good news, you know, at least they're showing good medicine. I mean, what can you do? EBS, this is why these stocks, you got to sell them on the way up. Because yeah, if you don't, you know, you take a 20% haircut on the way down. This is why you don't chase stuff like that. Looks like a pump and dump. EBS with a big move, but you know, we'll watch it, see if it finds support at the 21. Anyway, that's it for the drugs. I'm going to move on because the REITs are hot, and when the REITs are hot, that worries me a little bit. This is Brixmor breaking out today, nearly 7% move. Closed near the high of this session, which is what you want to see on a breakout, 98%. That's a nice hammer candle for Brixmor. Yeah, look at that. Nice, handle here. As it pulled back, went sideways for a couple weeks. And that's what you want to see, before the big move. SLG, this I believe is a monthly paying REIT, dividend REIT. This is a real strong one. Making new highs. So SL Green Realty, I believe they're monthly pairs. IIPR is another REIT. Broke out of a base, just that now surfing its moving average, looking fantastic. NXRT, I'm not a REIT guy, just have them in a retirement account for the dividends. Anyway, this one pulled back to its 10 today, found support, closed near its highs. 88% of its daily range. So the REITs are strong, just trying to show you some strength here. And while I'm at it, I got to go to CrowdStrike. I keep telling you, don't try to catch this falling knife. I had a friend who bought it at 300 and she says, oh, it's the bottom's in, it's going to bounce off, the 200, but this suffered some real damage. Now there's litigation. It's got brand damage. It's got real, with companies seeking compensation. And so you just don't want to get involved in that mess. And it can go a lot lower. Okay. It's got a 57 billion market cap now with about what, 4 billion in sales. So you do the math, it's still, 12 times sales, even after that big haircut. So, yeah, Wall Street's going to sell now and ask questions later. And this is radioactive, folks. Just stay away. Don't try to get cute. It hasn't stopped going down. You have no idea when it's going to stop going down. Neither do I. Neither does anyone else. So, yeah, don't catch the falling knife. That is something that you need to write down and have as one of your cardinal rules, because it's a sin to buy one of those. This is KD, Kyndryl Holdings. I just point out this chart. It's a nice chart. I like it, but they have earnings tomorrow. So we've seen earnings go both ways. I've just showed you companies that went both ways after earnings. So you got to be careful out there. ServiceNow went the right way following earnings, and now it's pulled back to the 10, which coincides with the buy point. But software is just really hit and miss here. It's there's not a lot of advantages here. There's too much risk for me to be taking a chance on a stock like that at this point. CVLT, as soon as I say that, what do we have? The computer software database stock just rocketing higher, 22% with big volume closing at 99% of its daily range. That is a hammer candle and a half. All right, so we like that one. We don't like the ones going down. FFIV, I just show this because it's not a software name, network solution stock that reported earnings and jumped 13%. But we're seeing a lot of other software names that are just getting hammered. This is the STC down to its 200. The Datadog below the 200 now. They report next week. So yeah, there's just a lot of pain in the technology, semiconductor, software, hardware space. You got SMCI just dying. And Vertiv, they reported a pretty strong quarter last week. Their reward is, sell off down to the 200. These things just, they'll repair. I mean, the damage will be repaired, and they're going to form bases. You don't give up on them, but just right now, you don't want to get in the way of them on the downside unless you're on the short side, and I'm not really interested in shorting here. So anyway, just had to show you that. These medical device stocks are doing quite well. Thank you very much. Hologic is up 3, almost 4%, and it's got that hammer candle as well, 97% of its daily range. So that one looks good following its earnings report. And then we had Intuitive Surgical reported last week in this group, and it rallied, then now has pulled back. So it's just a tough market right now. Lantheus, this one rallied, a nice rally here a couple weeks ago, and now pulled back near its 21. They report tomorrow, so big news on Lantheus tomorrow. TMDX, one that I really like, but now it's below its 50, so just got to kind of watch it. It gapped higher, and it's did the Kelly Slater thing, surfing the moving averages, and now it's below it. So they're going to report tomorrow. So we're going to look for fireworks for some of these stocks here. Okay, I've got to get to my main theme here. The US consumer is definitely slowing, no doubt about it. If you listen to some of these companies like General Mills and Procter and Gamble, McDonald's, and Starbucks tonight, yeah, it's just a slowdown. This is what the raising interest rates like the Federal Reserve did, like maniacs for so long. They're starting to bite now, and it's starting to hit the economy, and that's why I think they're going to lower rates here pretty soon. McDonald's, it was an awful quarter. The stock didn't sell off. I mean, the stock actually went up the last couple of days, but you could see, slower growth, same store sales are down, just pretty much across the board. Lamb Weston, this is the French fry company. They said, they didn't expect a recovery until after 2025. because they see fiscal 2025 as a pretty rough year as well. So there's a glut of potatoes, and I gotta believe that the GLP-1 drugs are having an impact on the food and beverage and alcohol stocks and restaurants. I don't know. I heard one CEO just saying that people are cooking at home more, not going out. I don't know. Novo said they were signing up 25,000 people a week. That was in February. That was what, 5 months ago. At that rate, it's 100,000 people a month, and then 5 or 6 months, you're getting near 700,000 people, and Lilly's doing the same thing with their weight loss drugs. So you're talking millions of people, just they don't eat much because they're on those drugs. General Mills, they said the same thing, and it's just a rough out there for the food stocks, unless you're Sprouts Farmers Market. They seem to have found the magic touch. But Procter and Gamble, their CEO is very negative this morning. Their stock sold off. Yeah, there's no growth, and just it's a tough economy for the consumers. And I've got to show some of these restaurant stocks have really been hit too. Wingstop, yeah, below the 50. Shake Shack was one of the first ones to go below the 50. Look at that downtrend. Sweet Greens, yeah, just forming a base. Forming a base or selling off. Forming a base. But I do believe that those GLP-1 drugs are having an impact on these food stocks. Anyway, I've got to get to some retail. I haven't talked about retail for a little bit. This is Shark Ninja, and this one broke above its downtrend line, and it looks pretty good, trading within its base right there on that day. I think it was last Friday. Made a nice move, and then this week it's up a little bit. It's been a pretty weak tape. Yeah, it's up 4% this week. So still consolidating with a base, within its base, still actionable. I mean, that move on Friday is, something to take note of. Up with volume is what we like, and now through its 50. So Shark Ninja looks really good to me, and I think it's got an early entry buy point here that we could put on our ready list. They do report on the 8th, but you got some time here. It's still only July 30th. Deckers, once again, Deckers, I really don't know what to make of this stock. Technically, it's kind of broken. It sliced its 50. Now the 50 is resistance. It ran up there following earnings last week. They're obviously taking market share from Nike, but they're not getting rewarded. The CEO is stepping down. Dave Powers, only 54 years old. He's only been there 8 years. So it's a little suspicious, CEO getting out while the getting's good, possibly. But it's just forming a base here. You can see this kind of like a base on base pattern. They have a 6-for-1 stock split that is effective September 17th. There you can see it on the weekly, the base on base pattern. You can see the earnings line just grinding higher. And that's what you want to see in a long-term winner. Just continue to take market share, continue to have better and better earnings year after year. So Deckers is fantastic. Elf is an enigma. I think Elf might be in trouble though this time around. They're going to report next week. I believe they're going to have good things to say like usual, but I don't know how the stock's going to be rewarded. You could just see how tight this base was here when it, pulled back and then ripped higher up to 221. Now this base is a lot wider and looser, and the structure to it is not sound, I don't believe. Sliced its 50, and now you can see down below here, it's made a low and retested it a couple of times. If it pushes below there, man, it's adios muchachos. You cannot hang around. It made that low of 164.55 on July 22. A couple days later, on July 25, it retested that low, 165.16, and then today it came down and retested it again at 166. So maybe that is support there for Elf, and maybe they report strong earnings, and maybe they get rewarded, and maybe they go on to make new highs. That's plausible. But the space is just bothering me here. It's just wide and loose, and it's below its 50. So it looks to me like it wants to come down and kiss the 200, but we're just gonna have to wait and see what the CEO says on the 8th. I know L'Oreal reported a pretty strong quarter this morning, and I thought Elf would benefit from it, but you know, it sells off when Ulta says something bad. It sells off when L'Oreal says something good. So you know, what are you gonna do? Elf marches to the beat of its own drum. You know, longer term, I just got to look at this and say maybe it's time. You know, it had this IPO base, had this you know, it's a stage one, then it had this stage two ascent, and now it's in this like stage three where it cannot make any more appreciation. So the next move would be to the downside. So I'm definitely open-minded and flexible either way. Alpha's been a big, huge winner for me. So sometimes you have to say goodbye to the heroes. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. Accept and honor the great Steve Jobs. I have one more thing. We had earnings tonight from some of the heavyweights, and it's not going so good. Microsoft, I think the guy, you know, expectations are high, and they're just kind of meeting expectations, and the AI is not delivering the revenues yet that you know, Wall Street was expecting. It's still early in the game though, so you know, you got to give it some time and just, you know, let these things correct and form bases. With Microsoft being down 6%, if that holds tomorrow, you can bet the QQQs are going to be down. It carries a lot of weight with the other stocks like Amazon, you know, and the web services. Yeah, that's down too. And then Meta, which reports tomorrow, down after hours 3%. So yeah, Microsoft is going to drag the Nasdaq, and the QQQs lower tomorrow. Pinterest is not going to help, down 14% after hours. I didn't even look at their earnings. I didn't look at Arista Networks either, but I did see that. Okay, Arista Networks is up a little bit, 4%. We'll take that. I also saw that AMD was up around what, 144, 145. Probably a relief rally. I read the headlines and they weren't that great, but just a relief rally, like it wasn't horrible. It was not as bad as feared. How about that? Starbucks, man, this is not a good quarter. Same source sales are down. It's up, another relief rally. I think really bad news was priced in, and they only give us bad news. So I can't long this stock. I can't short it. I just avoid it. It's just a mess. It's like Nike. They just they're having companies take market share from them. I mean, let's face it, there's not a big moat with coffee. And so yeah, I mean, they're losing share to, you know, folks like Dutch Bros. For solar, up slightly after hours. I didn't read their report either. I'll have all the reports in the morning. I'll go through them and see if we have anything. Lemonade, an insurance company, down 14% after hours. That's going to come back to that old buy point there, huh? Even below it, looks like. We'll have to, you know, wait and see tomorrow. I'll have more in the morning, like I say, at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up, ever.